This is where they thought I'd die. We're bypassing a standard intro today and dropping you straight into a chilling, real-life cinematic opening scene. Picture a dim, cluttered apartment hallway. Roaches are scattering as a woman unlocks the door to a deeply infested unit she was literally forced into. She steps inside, pauses, and whispers those exact words. So today's explainer breaks down Claudia D. Reid's Mother's Monster, which is just an absolute masterclass in narrative tension and toxic family dynamics.
Mother's Monster, the cinematic reversal of a scapegoat? This isn't just some story. It's a meticulously documented, real-life survival epic, and we're breaking it down exactly as Claudia wrote it, as a 2-hour feature film script outline. We're going to see how a daughter, handed the absolute worst role in a family built entirely on lies, used the truth to orchestrate the ultimate reversal.
Act 1. The Toxic Family System. Before we can even get into the plot, we've got to understand the rigid emotional hierarchy of the family system Claudia was born into back in December 1969. You see, in a toxic family, people aren't just relatives. They're assigned specific roles designed to protect the dysfunction. We really need to understand this system to grasp why the events that follow are so devastating.
At the absolute bottom of this hierarchy was Claudia. Literally from the moment she could walk, she was cast as the scapegoat, labeled the loser, the troublemaker, the problem. But here's the kicker. She wasn't given this label because of anything she actually did. She was labeled the troublemaker simply because her mother desperately needed someone to carry the blame she refused to face herself. The system demanded a victim so the others could feel superior, you know?
And in stark contrast, enter Reid Jr., born in July 1983. He was the mother's absolute pride and joy, but he wasn't just loved, he was weaponized. As the golden child, he was fed a constant diet of entitlement and manipulation. The source material outlines how their mother actively trained him to break Claudia emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. She gave him the literal tools to destroy his own sister.
Then we have the middle ground, the conditional ally. Sister Rachel, born in February 1981, played an incredibly dangerous game. She listened to Claudia's tears for years, pretending to be a source of comfort. But that loyalty? It had a strict price tag. Money was flowing from their mother to Rachel, which was actually Claudia's own inheritance from their Aunt Flora that Claudia had lovingly given to her mom. Well, as soon as that money stopped flowing, Rachel switched sides in a heartbeat, leaving Claudia completely isolated.
Some people aren't family, they're assignments. This brings us to a massive turning point. Spoken by a social worker, neighbor, or pastor in Claudia's life, this observation redefines literally everything. It shifts her whole perspective from victimhood into this profound, almost spiritual trial. It completely sets the stage for the rest of our timeline, moving us from the painful setup right into the actionable plot.
The catalyst: entrapment. Every good cinematic arc needs a catalyst, right? A moment where the protagonist's world is tipped off its axis. For Claudia, this catalyst disguised itself as a rescue. She lost her job, largely due to the lifelong emotional sabotage she was enduring, and faced eviction in Pittsburgh. Her family swooped in, but as we're about to see, this was definitely not an act of charity.
Let's walk through how this trap snapped shut. Step 1, her mother pays the rent for an apartment, but it's a completely roach and mouse-infested unit. Step 2, Reid Jr., the golden child, is required to sign the lease. Step 3, the trap is locked. Her mother used money as a leash, and her brother used that infested apartment as a literal cage. Claudia was now entirely under their legal, financial, and physical control.
The B story, the ultimate betrayal. Just when you think the psychological torment has peaked, we hit the B story. The narrative plunges to its absolute darkest point with a genuinely shocking confession. A man named Byron, a friend of Reid Jr., comes forward with a truth so heavy it forces Claudia into an emotional death before she can be reborn. What's truly devastating about this assassination attempt is the chilling complicity of her own blood. Reid Jr. literally ordered Byron to kill Claudia. Their mother knew about it, Sister Rachel knew about it. They all just sat in silence and waited for her to die. But Byron remembered Claudia's previous kindness to him and confessed everything. And in an unbelievable display of moral strength over vengeance, Claudia actually forgave Byron.
Was compassion a mistake? This horrific revelation forces a profound internal debate. It's Claudia's dark night of the soul. Why? Because years earlier, when her father left her mother for a younger woman, his ex-girlfriends actually plotted to kill the mother. And despite being hated and scapegoated, Claudia and her stepbrother Paul stepped in and saved her mother's life. Now, Realizing her mother sat by waiting for her own assassination, Claudia had to confront the crushing weight of loving people who never, ever loved her back.
The midpoint, the shift of power. As the family doubled down on their toxicity, spreading gossip and lies to sabotage her name, a massive tectonic shift occurred. The weapon of truth finally replaced the weapon of manipulation, and the family actually began to trigger the total collapse of their own lives entirely by their own hands.
Their downfall plays out like a devastating domino effect. Months in, Reid Jr.'s wife divorces him, taking his house, and he gets sent to jail for a drunk driving hit and run that killed a man. Years later, Rachel takes out a second mortgage she can't pay, faces foreclosure with their mother inside the house, and gets blackballed from hospitals. Decades later, their mother is hit with a V capital lawsuit and charges of Social Security and pension fraud. The money vanished. Their reputations utterly collapsed.
So, while their lives burned to the ground, what was Claudia doing? She was building. Step 1. Writing diaries. She consolidated decades of trauma recorded in her ledgers into a powerful mythology she called Finsta. Step 2. Forging Finsta. She transformed her immense, suffocating pain into undeniable power. Step 3. Becoming an author and filmmaker. The isolated scapegoat stepped right into her purpose.
Consider this complete inversion of fate. The trajectories of the golden child and the scapegoat have swapped entirely. The entitled son is divorced, jailed, and stripped of his high-paying job. Meanwhile, the scapegoat, whose reality they tried to distort and destroy, is now wealthy, respected, and thriving with published books and optioned scripts.
Act 3. The Divine Reversal, which brings us to the cinematic punchline. It is an act of justice so poetic, so perfectly structured, that it feels exactly like the script Claudia outlined. The family, completely broken and broke, ends up living in the exact same infested apartment complex they once forced Claudia into.
She owns the building. Think about that for a second. That exact same roach-infested apartment they used as a cage to control her. She owns the entire building.
Let's break down the sheer brilliance of this silent victory. Claudia bought the top and bottom floors through an LLC. When the upstairs neighbors passed away, she bought that unit too. Her family pays rent to her, and they have absolutely no idea. Alan, Rachel's quiet husband, whom they used to control, now rules their household, giving them a serious taste of their own medicine. And Claudia, she paid her mother's debts as a final act of closure and just walked away. She owns the floors above them, the walls around them, and they are entirely clueless.
The tears this year weren't mine. This leaves us with such a powerful final image. Imagine her standing victorious, peaceful, and free in that very same dim hallway she unlocked in Scene 1. Only now her voiceover plays, "The tears this year weren't mine." It's the ultimate proof that you simply cannot destroy what was built by God to survive.
If you were handed the deed to your own trauma, would you have the discipline to stay silent and rule from the shadows? We've covered an incredible journey today in this explainer, going from absolute entrapment to total empowerment. And it leaves us with this profound question. Think about the immense strength it takes to hold the ultimate trump card and never even feel the need to play it. Thanks for hanging out with us today to break this all down.